You're clutching a golden ticket to the financial internet's back end. But listen up. This comes with a massive warning attached. This definitely isn't some passive investment strategy. Arriving early means absolutely nothing if you're sleeping through the transformation. You've got to get ready right now. Why? Because once these systems go live, there won't be any heads up. No media briefing, no announcement on social media, just an instant, brutal market repricing. That's exactly why, if you're genuinely committed to grasping what's actually unfolding, cutting through the chaos and beyond the stories, you need to subscribe Crypto Talk immediately. We don't follow temporary spikes. We analyze the groundwork that'll support the upcoming cycle. And if you're holding XRP, XLM, or HBAR, you're nearer to that groundwork than you realize. But only if you're alert when it unfolds. XRP, XLM, HBAR, each tackling a unique piece of the puzzle. Here's where most folks mess up when discussing XRP, XLM, and HBAR. They assume this is some tribal conflict, as if one must succeed for the others to crumble. Completely wrong. This isn't Bitcoin against Ethereum. This isn't Solana battling Cardano. This represents something entirely different. XRP, XLM, and HBAR aren't rivals. They're partners, whether they realize it or not. Each was engineered for distinct roles in the emerging global financial framework. They represent the foundational protocols of what's approaching. Let me explain this clearly, because once you grasp it, there's no turning back. XRP serves as the liquidity foundation, the connector. It was created for one purpose: moving value between isolated financial networks with velocity, accuracy, and completion. This is why Ripple developed RippleNet and On-Demand Liquidity, ODL, to replace the outdated SWIFT infrastructure where transactions drag on for days, hindered by intermediary banks, with an instant settlement quality system that eliminates the need for pre-funded Nostro accounts. Ripple didn't rebuild everything from scratch. They eliminated the obstacles. And XRP powers that mechanism. Not merely rapid, but specifically designed for connecting currencies, even in challenging or limited liquidity markets. What SWIFT represents for messaging, XRP represents for value movement, but immediate. Now that Ripple's moving into prime brokerage and tokenized lending through Hidden Road, this capability is advancing. XRP is transforming into the liquidity infrastructure for a tokenized capital markets universe. XLM functions as the distribution foundation, the entry gateway. Initially forked from XRP's code, Stellar pursued a different goal: making money accessible to everyone. But here's the plot twist. Since Soroban's smart contracts launched, Stellar has transformed into a programmable, asset-focused blockchain that concentrates on actual financial services. Especially in developing markets, international aid, and regulatory-compliant token creation. This isn't DeFi for crypto enthusiasts. This represents genuine, real-world DeFi. From Pelago Labs providing trade finance lending in Latin America, to UNHCR distributing biometric verified aid payments on-chain to displaced people, to MoneyGram incorporating fiat connections directly into Stellar wallets. XLM now operates as the connection point between institutional infrastructure and everyday users. It provides accessibility where conventional finance falls short. It's not flashy, it's not overhyped, but it's addressing trillions in inefficiencies within global value movement. HBAR represents the verification foundation, the institutional foundation. Hedera isn't a blockchain, it's a directed acyclic graph, DAG, meaning it lacks miners. It doesn't have congested blocks. What it offers is completion, management, and velocity, all packaged in enterprise-level architecture. And it's controlled not by anonymous validators, but by an actual board of international corporations. Google, IBM, Dell, Standard Bank, Shinhan Bank, Boeing, and even UAE's government entities. These aren't crypto investors. These are global powerhouses. Why are they involved? Because Hedera's structure makes it ideal for tokenizing physical assets, from carbon credits to government bonds to retail CBDCs. Already, Hedera operates in production through ServiceNow and Dell for verifying SaaS automation processes. Avery Dennison tracks billions of products throughout supply networks. The Dubai International Financial Center explores stablecoin and CBDC creation under Sharia-compliant structures. HBAR isn't attempting to become the public's blockchain. It's positioning itself as the enterprise-level verification foundation for governments, regulators, and Fortune 500 companies. Here's what matters most. You've got XRP as the interchain liquidity mechanism, XLM as the seamless access and distribution foundation, and HBAR as the institutional-level compliance-focused tokenization platform. Combine them, and you've created the financial internet infrastructure. XRP functions like TCP/IP for currency. XLM operates like SMTP for direct payments. HBAR works like HTTPS for secure, authenticated, institutional-level asset movement. Just as the early internet required multiple protocols to operate, we're witnessing history repeat in finance's internet layer. So quit wondering which token will dominate. That's a false choice. Smart investors aren't seeking winners. They're assembling the complete system. Because here's what's approaching: a multi-blockchain financial operating platform where each token will serve essential functions in various value exchange sectors. That's why BlackRock isn't backing one cryptocurrency. That's why central banks are evaluating different protocols simultaneously. That's why governments are investing in infrastructure, not speculative coins. This is strategic thinking, not simple moves. If you're only investing in one protocol, you're playing an incomplete game. If you're positioning across all three, XRP, XLM, and HBAR, you're constructing a portfolio for a tokenized reality that already operates behind closed doors. But soon, those barriers are disappearing. You want preparation before that moment arrives. Institutional integration is no longer theoretical, it's active. Forget the technical documents. Forget the speculation waves. Forget the testnet updates. We've moved beyond the conceptual stage. This isn't about potential outcomes. This covers what's currently happening behind the scenes, silently, while retail investors scroll past seeking the next explosive meme token. The reality is, XRP, XLM, and HBAR aren't speculative investments anymore. They're functioning infrastructure. And institutions aren't seeking approval. They're not waiting for your preferred influencer to become optimistic. They're already developing on these networks because tomorrow's financial system won't run on empty promises. Let's begin with XRP. Since Ripple's legal triumph over the SEC in 2024, it's like someone floored the accelerator. Hidden road acquisition? That wasn't merely news, it's a calculated decision to absorb a functioning institutional credit and brokerage system and connect it directly to Ripple's technology infrastructure. We're discussing prime brokerage services for hedge funds constructed on Ripple's foundation. Ripple Liquidity Hub isn't theoretical anymore, it's operational. And now enhanced to include fiat connections, USDC, BTC, and yes, XRP as a liquidity solution for businesses to transfer value between banks, nations, and assets instantly. Ripple's UAE corridor growth? That's not possibility. That's compliant, regulated international money transfer flowing through XRP-supported infrastructure in one of the world's fastest developing financial centers. And the clincher. In a recent tokenized fund prototype, BlackRock's framework referenced XRP-compatible infrastructure as part of the Liquidity Foundation blueprint. Let that register. BlackRock, the planet's largest asset manager, and XRP is included in the discussion. Now let's discuss Stellar XLM. This isn't 2018 anymore. Stellar is no longer simply the remittance token. In 2025, Stellar operates real-world financial infrastructure, particularly in the Global South. Soroban smart contracts are now active on mainnet, and we're already witnessing deployment. Not testing environments, actual pilot initiatives like Palogo Labs creating tokenized instruments in Latin America. Not synthetic, not DeFi schemes. These represent actual loans, genuine repayment systems, regulatory structures built into the programming. The UNHCR's Biometric Aid Distribution Network isn't experimental. It's functioning in refugee settlements right now. Aid moves from donors through Stellar infrastructure into biometric secured wallets that individuals can withdraw via MoneyGram connections in over 180 nations. That's humanitarian finance reconstructed. That's stablecoin-enabled global aid operating today. And the consequences? Massive. If Stellar can manage biometric aid for the UN, it can expand to handle central bank stablecoin distribution, trade finance movements, and payroll systems for unbanked communities. This isn't just crypto functionality. This is national-scale infrastructure deploying before retail even realizes. And now Hedera, HBAR, the institutional backbone. While average retail investors couldn't even explain what Hedera does, the world's most influential institutions are quietly operating mission-critical applications on it. The Dubai International Financial Center, DIFC, the UAE's Financial Regulation and Innovation Center, is constructing a stablecoin structure using Hedera's technology. Why? Because Hedera provides transparent, high-capacity tokenization infrastructure with management integrated at the protocol foundation. The UK All-Party Parliamentary Group for Crypto has not only recognized Hedera, they're actively examining tokenized asset policy frameworks based on Hedera's management and architecture. Yes, policy, not speculation. Avery Dennison's supply chain monitoring system called Atma.io is operational, tracking billions of products using Hedera Hashgraph. That's already transferring value and data in production. In Asia, tokenized green bonds are already active on Hedera, created by banks and regulated institutions. Not on Ethereum, not on Solana, on Hedera. Even Dell Technologies and ServiceNow are incorporating Hedera into enterprise IT automation and workflow confirmation. That's billion-dollar enterprise software validating internal processes on-chain. And here's the harsh reality. Retail hasn't even noticed. Why? Because Hedera doesn't create noise. It develops quietly. And when it makes headlines, smart money will have already secured their positions. So let's be clear. While you're waiting for Coinbase to relist something, while TikTok influencers promote frog coins and animal meme mascots, while casual investors wonder if crypto is finished, institutions are quietly constructing the infrastructure for global finance on XRP, XLM, and HBAR. And none of these networks are waiting for retail approval to launch. They're already functional. When you see it trending on Twitter, the price will have already moved. When CNBC reports it, the liquidity will already be secured. That's the system. The genuine trap isn't market crashes. It's being lulled into complacency while the system rebuilds around you. So here's the question. When the next surge of global capital connects to these ledgers, will you be rushing to purchase or already positioned? Because XRP, XLM, and HBR aren't gambles anymore. They're infrastructure. And if you're still here, smash that subscribe button. Because while others watch entertainment, we at Crypto Talk are monitoring the infrastructure of global value activation. The genuine utility is finally launching. And that transforms everything. Let's eliminate the fluff. For years, crypto was all promotion and no substance. Promises, technical documents, vaporware, and development hype were sufficient to send tokens soaring. But now, none of that influences anything anymore because we're in the post-narrative period. Utility has become the narrative now, and most of the market still hasn't understood it. Let me phrase it differently. The protocols that are actually addressing trillion-dollar challenges are finally becoming operational, and 99% of retail hasn't realized. Let's start with XRP. We're not discussing a hypothetical liquidity network anymore. We're not discussing pilot programs or Ripple presentations. We're discussing real on-chain activity. Since Ripple's partial victory against the SEC, XRP is no longer toxic for institutions. It's finally legally safe to possess. And that single change completely opened the next phase of real-world utility. Here's what we're observing. ODL, now Ripple Payments, has achieved record-breaking volumes in 2024 and into 2025. Not retail pumps, not exchanges. Institutional quality corridors including the United Arab Emirates, Brazil, and parts of Asia. Ripple Liquidity Hub is now accepting clients seeking programmatic, compliant access to deep liquidity, with XRP integrated as one of the primary infrastructure. Central banks and sovereign funds are now exploring tokenized FX flows where XRP serves as the intermediate liquidity foundation. This isn't just bullish, it's a fundamental shift. The moment XRP became legally viable again, the market began shifting behind the scenes. You didn't see it in price, you witnessed it in volume, in corridors, and infrastructure agreements. Now let's discuss XLM. If you still think Stellar is just an inexpensive cross-border payment network, you're operating 5 years behind. Because with the activation of Soroban's smart contracts, Stellar has evolved. It's now a completely programmable asset foundation, and it's already being utilized to power real-world DeFi in regions where traditional banking has failed. What does that resemble? Pelago Labs is creating tokenized debt to businesses in Latin America, supported by enforcement logic embedded in Soroban contracts. The Stellar chain is being utilized to program aid logic into UNHCR distributions, biometric wallets, location-based transactions, spending controls. This is programmable finance in operation, not in a testing facility. On and off connections through MoneyGram now provide physical withdrawal options across 180-plus countries, with Stellar powering the infrastructure and USDC as the medium. And here's the key. It's compliant. Unlike DeFi on Ethereum, which regulators are still attempting to categorize, Stellar's design aligns with compliance-first institutions. It's not exciting, but it's functioning. And when you're powering aid programs, trade finance, and stablecoin infrastructure for NGOs, functionality beats speculation every time. Now HBAR. The retail crowd still has no understanding of what's happening here. But institutions, they do. And they're building like it's 1999. Here's what makes Hedera different. It isn't chasing hype. It's not trying to become the next Solana or Avalanche. It's constructed for trust-first, compliance-required systems. That's why Hedera doesn't have anonymous validators. It has a governing council with Google, IBM, LG, Dell, DBS Bank, and even the UAE's sovereign regulatory departments. Why is that significant? Because governments, regulators, and financial institutions can't afford to partner with chains that might get compromised, jammed, or banned. They need finality. They need auditability. They need governance. And that's precisely what HBAR provides. And now, utility is becoming operational. Asia's first tokenized green bond? Already created on Hedera. Avery Dennison utilizing Hedera to track billions of physical goods through supply chains? Live. The Dubai Financial Center's stablecoin initiative? Powered by Hedera's Trust Foundation. Dell and ServiceNow deploying enterprise automation logic on Hedera? Already integrated. This isn't coming, it's here. And here's the punchline. The market hasn't valued any of this yet. Why? Because institutional accumulation never resembles a meme pump. It appears boring. It appears slow. It appears dead. Until it explodes violently. Remember Amazon Web Services, AWS in 2005? No memes, no mainstream excitement, just massive silent infrastructure being constructed for companies. Until it quietly became the foundation of the modern internet. That's what XRP, XLM, and HBAR are doing right now. They're becoming the AWS of value transfer, the underlying systems for everything that will move money, settle assets, tokenize property, and distribute aid in the digital economy. And just like AWS, they're being accumulated and scaled in stealth, until the moment arrives where everyone suddenly needs them. So if you're sitting around, waiting for TikTok traders or YouTube influencers to validate your holdings, you're already too late. Because when retail finally awakens, smart money will already be sitting on generational positions. And those entry points? Gone. You don't wait for utility to trend. You get in while the market is still sleeping, before utility becomes narrative, and before narrative drives exponential price discovery. And that moment, it's approaching much faster than you think. Hit that subscribe button right now if you're holding XRP, XLM, or HBAR. Because the next section is where we reveal the final trigger event that could flip this entire market upside down. Regulatory clarity, stablecoin integrations, and the final trigger. Now comes the accelerant. Regulatory clarity. Ripple's partial victory against the SEC in 2024 wasn't just a legal win. It was a green light for institutional capital. HBR and XLM were already ahead in compliance-first narratives. But now, the floodgates are opening. In the US, Congress is warming up to crypto with bipartisan stablecoin frameworks and clearer definitions of what qualifies as a security. In the UAE, Singapore, and the UK, compliant stablecoin issuance is being fast-tracked. And guess what networks are being tapped for infrastructure? Hedera, Stellar, Ripple. Circle and MoneyGram are using Stellar rails for stablecoin off-ramps. The Bank of England is consulting with Ripple-affiliated consortia for potential wholesale CBDC deployment. We're entering a new phase where stablecoins, tokenized fiat, and central bank digital currencies will need interoperability, liquidity, and settlement finality. And XRP, XLM, and HBAR check all three boxes. The final trigger will come when G20 nations roll out production-level tokenized assets. When that happens, it won't be about hype. It will be about throughput. Who can move billions in tokenized assets frictionlessly across borders? Spoiler alert. You're already holding the answers. Prepare yourself or be left behind. This isn't just about charts or next month's CPI report. This is about global infrastructure being retooled in real time. The token economy isn't coming. It's already here. The question is, are you positioned for it? If you hold XRP, XLM, or HBAR, you're sitting on the protocols that could power a multi-trillion-dollar settlement system. But sitting isn't enough. You need to track adoption news, not influencers. Accumulate during boredom, not hype. Understand the long-game utility, not just the price. We're entering a phase where value will flow to real networks, compliant, scalable, and adopted by real institutions. XRP, XLM, and HBAR are not lottery tickets. They're infrastructure bets. But the window to prepare is closing, quietly, steadily, and when it slams shut, those who didn't act won't get a second chance. Buckle up! If you've been tracking the moves Ripple, Stellar, and Hedera are making, and you're ready to position yourself on the winning side of this transformation, then it's time to take action. Smash that like button if this opened your eyes to what's really happening behind the scenes, subscribe to stay ahead of the institutional moves while everyone else is still chasing memes, and hit that notification bell because when these systems fully activate, you'll want to be the first to know, not the last to find out when the prices have already exploded. The financial internet is being built right now, and you're either building with it or getting left behind.